I'll read about like 50 to 75 pages a day. And this one is for, hold on, I'm gonna find it, Things Occurred. I think doing that made the whole character development versus plot better. Hi, dear. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with week 2 of the magical readathon. So I am starting this a little bit early because in the US, I kind of mentioned this at the end of last week's vlog, but in the US, it is Easter on Sunday. So I have tomorrow off, which is Friday. Very excited about that. So it's a long weekend and we are going up to see Chris's parents. So I'll take you with me. But as far as plans for the weekend and next week, I have plans. So as you saw last week, I started The Ballad of Never After. Here it is without the dust jacket. But The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. This is the second in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, which I have really enjoyed. And I've barely started it. I'm like 40 pages into this. So I'm hoping to make some more progress. And this basically follows our main character Evangeline in the first book, who is convinced the guy that she has fallen in love with is marrying the wrong person and she wants to stop the wedding. So she goes to this fate of broken hearts and his name is Jax and basically asks for a deal for him to stop their wedding. And things happen, spirals from there. So this is the second in the series. The third one comes out later this year and I'm very, very excited about it. This is my Fancy Fairy Loot edition. It has a fun kind of under the dust jacket, but I also just love this one. It's not just the most beautiful picture. I think it's so sweet, but that's what I've at least taken into this vlog. And this one, I should probably tell you what this is for. This is for Elemental Studies, which is flowers on the cover. UK cover that I have has some flowers on it, but I don't have that on me. But I swear to you it does. So, like I mentioned, that's what I'm bringing into this week, but I have some other plans. So I have another buddy read that's not for this readathon, but I'll mention it here that I'm doing over this weekend, and that is this one, which is Anna Maria and the Fox, and this is by Liana de la Rosa. This is my book of the month book that I'm actually reading with my coworker because we ended up both reading the same book for book of the month. So I'm hoping to get to this one this weekend. Actually, I'm primarily hoping to focus on this one this weekend. So I made it fit for like my TBR game, but I haven't made it quite fit for the readathon yet. And even if I do, actually there is a couple of them that I could make it fit for, but neither of them are required for my career. So depending on how much I get done, that's what I'm bringing for the weekend. And then next week, I'm doing a buddy read with my friend Lauren, and we are reading Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. Now this one is required for my career. We're starting this one on Monday and hoping to get through it throughout the week. So I'll read about like 50 to 75 pages a day. And this one is for, hold on, I'm gonna find it, Conjuration, which is recommended by a friend. So some people have recommended this to me. The one I'm thinking of specifically is my friend Taylor, who adores this, and I'm honestly prepared for this one to make me cry. We follow our main character Wallace, I think is what his name is. Yeah, Wallace. And it takes place at this place called Chiron's Crossing, which is basically this little tea shop that is in between the living and the dead. And the book starts with Wallace being basically at his own funeral, and it's very sparsely attended. And so he gets taken to this tea shop and becomes friends with the bartender, or the owner of sorts, Hugo, owner. And he's basically like in limbo, and I think there's way more to it than that. I think maybe a relationship between them. I'm suspecting a romance between them, but because of the subject matter, I'm expecting to cry like a baby. So this is the one that I'm planning on reading on Monday and kind of like peppering in throughout the week. So I'll let you know how things go. This is my plan, is these 3 books right now. I'm sure I'll fit something else in throughout the week just because I am me and I am ambitious and I have many plans for this week. But that's my plan for now. So I will take you with me this weekend and kind of show you how my reading goes. But before I enter this clip, I got a fun little package in the mail. It's a bunch of bookmarks for this readathon that I ordered from G, and they came in the mail today, and I'm so excited because I haven't seen them yet. So I thought that I would unbox them, I would show them to you as I see them. So let's see. There's basically one separate one that I can't remember what it is, and then a bunch of like the classes bookmarks that she has created. Oh, yep, now I'm remembering what it is. So the one, I'll put a timestamp on this if you don't want to see this unboxing, because she does have these on her Etsy. That's where I got them. So I have one that's called Questing, and it's this beautiful gold foil. Isn't that stunning? And it's coming out of a book. So that's the one that's like the solo. And then we have all of the classes that I'm so excited I'm about to throw them. All of the classes here, they look like this. Oh my goodness, aren't they stunning? So I will show you to them as I see them. So we have Psychonics and Divination, I think. I will say it's going to be hard for me to read these because of how they are written. We have Art of Illusion. These are so fun. We have Animal Studies. Is that that's a dragon? That's beautiful. We have Inscription right there. I'm obsessed with these already. Demonology. I love the demons and the dragons. Artificery, I think is how you pronounce that one. We have Astronomy. Pretty normal astronomy looking thing. We have Elemental Studies. Ooh, yes. We have Conjuration right there. Beautiful. Spells and Incantations is that one. We have Shape-Shifting, which these make me so happy. Restoration is one of those, like healing. We have Alchemy is next. And then the last one is Lore. So I need to go add these to the books that are for these classes, just because that's who I am and I need the bookmarks to match. But I love these. They're definitely darker than the last set she made when she did the Magical Readathon. Like originally, I still have those somewhere. But I love these. I love having them for these readathons. They're really beautifully made. They're on really good material. And the Questing one is really fun too. That's just absolutely stunning. So look at that. I have some fun new bookmarks that I definitely didn't need, but here we are. I have them. So that's my plan for the week, and a fun little unboxing, surprise unboxing for you. So I'll come back to you when I have some thoughts and maybe I finish some things and I can tell you more things about what I'm reading. But I don't know what this week's gonna hold, but let's find out. Hello, I am here to give you some updates because I have read some things and I have thoughts. So, as I'm sure you saw last night, I finished The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. Gave this one 4.5 stars. It was very good. I wasn't really sure starting this book because it didn't really have anything, like it started off right after the events of the first book, which is, I usually like that when it's in succession like that, instead of having like a big break between books 1 and 2 as far as the plot and the timeline within the book. So I really enjoyed that. But like, I feel like there wasn't really a whole lot of stuff that was happening at the beginning. I mean, there was stuff going on, but I also just felt like it wasn't as maybe action-packed as the first one. But then we got to the like middle, and then we really got into the story. And as you saw, I had very expressive reactions to how this book ended, because it, and I don't think this is a spoiler because it's not a plot thing, it had a fake out end, so it pretended to end and then it didn't actually end. So things occurred. So I can't wait until the third one comes out, which is I'm gonna have to wait until September, and I'm so sad about that because I really enjoyed this one. I don't think, I mean, a lot of my thoughts about the first one are true for this one. It's not particularly the most amazing thing I've ever read. Am I gonna remember every single moment of this? No. There were definitely some things from the first book that I'd already forgotten before I got into this one, but I still had a really, really good time. And the world is really interesting, and I loved the character of Jax. Because of events in the first book, I was afraid he wasn't going to be in this one very much. The plot had the potential for him to not show up nearly as much as the first book, as he did in the first book, but that's not true. He was a huge part of the story, and I really like that because I love him and I think he's really interesting, and we see a lot of character development with him in this and some shocking revelations about his true identity, which I think is really easy to see coming but was still fun to experience all the same. So like, if you're going in this expecting there to be some really grand reveals and some shocking revelations that are not gonna, like, you're not gonna be able to guess ahead of time, you're not gonna get that. There's definitely a lot of groundwork that has been laid for you to guess some of the bigger reveals in this book. So I don't have a lot of like very expressive thoughts on this book because I had such an interesting time reading it, where it started just kind of being okay, and then it ended in such a good way that like kept me hooked. And I feel like that was very similar to the first one, is like there's a lot of world building, at least in the first book, there's a lot of world building at the beginning, and then the plot really got interesting and there were some bigger reveals at the end. And then this one kind of had the same thing, where there was not necessarily world building, but you had some stuff that you set up at the very beginning, and then you kind of get into the real plot later on. I feel like I'm not explaining myself very well, but I really enjoyed this. I loved my time reading it. Again, is it the most original thing I've ever read? No. I think there are definitely things out there, but this is definitely going to be a favorite of mine. And the series is going to be a favorite of mine, and I can't wait to get the third one when it comes out because I have many questions I need answered. So, finished it, 4.5 stars, was amazing. So this one, I think I mentioned probably at the beginning, I feel like I did a terrible job opening this vlog, so I'll mention a lot of stuff again, but this was for Elemental Studies, which was a book with flowers on the cover. So as you can see, we have flowers on the cover. So I've officially finished a book that was required for my career, believe it or not. I feel like I keep finding books that are things that I'm interested in and want to be reading, but they're not ever for the career. They're all for like the other classes that I don't actually like quote unquote need. But I'm actually in the middle of 3 books right now. Well, no, 2 books right now, and both of them are required for my career. Crazy. So I don't actually know, I haven't put it in co-pile yet, but I'm 150 pages into Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. This is it without the dust jacket. It's this beautiful Illumicrate editions that I got of Under the Whispering Door, as well as The House by the Cerulean Sea. So it has this just absolutely beautiful jacket. I figured it out. It's called K-Run's Crossing. So I finally figured out how to freaking pronounce this thing. But I'm on chapter 11, and I'm buddy reading this with my friend Lauren, which I think I've said a few times. And this one was For the Prompt of Conjuration, which is a book recommended by a friend. And my friend Taylor has recommended this so many times. I mean, a lot of people have recommended this to me, but the one that I feel like is the most, that I get the most, is from her. So I really enjoyed this one. This one follows Wallace, who is a guy at the beginning of the book, he's a lawyer, and he probably doesn't live the happiest of lives. I mean, he's got a lot of stuff going on. Like, there's a lot of speculation I could go into as far as representation within this book, because he has a lot of characteristics that remind me of my husband, in the sense of like how he feels about rules. And my husband suffers from anxiety, so I feel like he probably does as well, and he needs those structure and those rules to kind of get through the day. Because like, he has moments in this book, like one of the ones that I read in today's section was that someone was talking about their parents having passed away, and his automatic response was to say, "I'm sorry." And he was thinking in his head that that was the socially accepted thing to say after someone tells them that their parents have passed away. And the person he was talking to basically said, "Are you actually sorry, or are you just saying that?" And he had to think about it for a second, because, you know, he knew what to say right after someone said that, but then when someone threw a curveball at him, he kind of was like, "Whoa, I don't know how to deal with that." So I found that was really interesting. But Wallace is a lawyer, and his life is his job. So he's a partner in this firm, and the book kind of starts with him dying, and he wakes up at his own funeral, which is very, very sparsely attended. It's his partners in the law firm, so there's 3 other guys, and then his ex-wife, who come to this funeral. And he kind of expected that like a bunch of people from like his work were going to show up, but no one can stand him. And so this girl named May basically shows up, and she's what's called a reaper, and she takes him to Charon's Crossing, which is run by this guy named Hugo. And Hugo is what's called a ferryman, which is basically the tea shop that he runs with May is this kind of like halfway point. So people who are dead come here, and Hugo helps them come to grips with the fact that they have died and make a choice, whatever that choice is, whether they stay, whether they go through the door at the very, very top of this house, which brings them to whatever the next step is for them. And most people go through the door. There is someone who's in this house that did not go through the door, but it was by choice and on purpose. And most people go through the door. Sometimes it takes them a few days, sometimes it takes them a couple of weeks. And so Wallace is kind of grappling with all of this, and it's a lot of conversation between him and Hugo, mostly late at night, alone, talking about just life. And Wallace has a lot of questions about his job and everything, and so it's really fascinating seeing this story. What I like so far about this is that TJ Klune has a really humorous writing style. It comes across if you're paying attention, but in this book I feel like it's more prevalent, which is important for the story, because this story is not the easiest story. It's about death. It's about a guy grappling with the fact that he has died and the what next kind of question. And so it's not an easy topic, but TJ Klune meshes this really tough topic and these really serious conversations with a lot of humor and a lot of humorous moments. So I think it pairs really well together. So we're going to be reading about 75 pages a day, so I probably will come back to you on Friday when I've officially finished this to talk more about this one, but I'm really enjoying it. This is more character development than plot, which is not I go for the more plot heavy books. I really don't like just character focused books, but because of the subject matter, I kind of knew that's what we were going to get going into it. Plus I really like TJ Klune, and I'm going to trust his process, and like things are happening. Like there is a plot that's going on, kind of. So there's actions and stuff that are happening, but like the big overarching point of this book is just the conversations between Hugo and Wallace. So I thought that the first section was good because it kind of set up the world without confusing. Like you're figuring out this whole behind the scenes and like after death kind of situation with Wallace. So there's not a lot of world building that's crammed down your throat at the beginning, because you don't need that, because you are figuring things out like Wallace is. So that was really good, and I expect great things from this book, and I've been told that I'm going to cry at the end. Well, I'm probably going to cry multiple times, so I am not mentally prepared for that. But I've started this one, and so far, so good. I have not enough information to give a tentative rating. I know I do that sometimes where I'm like, oh, if I rated it now, it would be this, but I feel like there's a lot more substance that we're going to get in the next few sections of this book. So I'm very excited about that. And then on my way home today, I started the other book that I'm going to be reading behind the scenes, not behind the scenes, but alongside Under the Whispering Door, and that is The Belle of Belgrave Square. This one is for the prompt of spells and incantations, I believe. Yes, which is a book that is between 389 and 415 pages, and this is like 406, or like it's just over 400 pages. This one is a historical romance that I read the first one in. It's part of the Bells of London series. The first one is The Siren of Sussex, which I read the end of last year, sometime last year, and really enjoyed. And so it's basically one friend group, and everyone in that friend group gets a respective romance. So we're going to get the next two next year sometime. This one follows Julia, who obviously we meet in the first book, and she suffers from like pretty bad social anxiety. So she shuts down at events and she kind of hides away. So this is a story between her and this guy named Captain Jasper Blunt, who was hailed a military hero, but there's a lot of rumors about him. He's got a scarred face because he was in this really bad, I don't know if it was like a fight or something that happened during the war, where basically his entire group died and it was just him. So he's got scarring on his face that he doesn't think highly of, and there's rumors of his bastard children and his haunted estate in Yorkshire. And so we haven't gotten to it quite yet, but the back says that Julia basically is a romantic and really is in love with horse riding. That's where she feels comfortable, and reading. And so I think she does create, basically comes to the captain with a marriage of convenience. I think he needs her, well, I know that he needs her wealth and her dowry to help his estate, because his estate is struggling, and she just wants to ride horses and read books all day. And so they kind of create this bargain, marriage of convenience. So where I'm at, we haven't gotten to it yet. They've kind of just really been meeting. I'm only about 50 pages in, so not really a whole lot has happened. I'm on chapter 5, and that's a pretty good chunk. So these chapters are actually going to be relatively short. I am listening to it on audio, which I'm really enjoying because there are two narrators. It's in third person, but it switches back and forth between Jasper and Julia's perspectives. And so we have different narrators depending on which perspective we're in. And I have really been enjoying it. So I'm already invested. Like, I'm only 50 pages in, which feels like a lot of pages, but considering like how much it actually is not very far into the book. And I'm already emotionally invested in her and Jasper as a couple. And they're not even a couple. Like, they've had 2 interactions, but their interactions have been so nice, because one of them takes place in a bookstore. But the first one that takes place, basically, in the first book, her first interaction with him is she gets introduced to him and she freaks out and has basically a panic attack and runs away. And so the book starts with her on a horse, and it's in the early mornings, which is where she likes to go horse riding, is when it's early and no one's around, and she runs into him and basically apologizes for running away and basically tells him that like she was going to faint and didn't want to faint on him. And he assumes that she was going to faint because she was looking at his scarred face. And then their first really big interaction is at this musicale, where she kind of is flustered by the amount of people that are there. So she goes and hides in the corner to read, basically in a hidden room, so that she can have some time to like de-stress. And he stumbles upon her, and they have just like it's just a normal conversation, but they're both really, he's basically very blunt and abrupt about things. And so he basically tells her, like, you don't have to be nice or hide behind societal norms and, you know, what's appropriate to say. Like, you can say what you're actually thinking. And so she does. And like, I just really, I'm not enough into this book, and I'm already invested in them. So I can't wait to see where we're going to go through this one. I'm probably going to dive through a lot more of this tomorrow and Thursday, I suspect. This will be my book for the next couple of days as well, and I'm just really enjoying it. So I've got a couple of books on the go right now, and I'm enjoying both of them for different reasons, and I finished an amazing book. So far so good. We're starting to really get into the heaviness of what I'm reading, because all 3 of these books that I mentioned are all required for my career. So right now, out of the 8 books that I need for my career, I finished 2 of them, and I'm reading 2 more. So next week I have plans for a couple of other books, so I can do this. I have faith in myself that I was starting to get worried, honestly, but I have faith in myself that I'll be able to pull through at least the ones that are required. So this makes me more excited, and especially the fact that I am now emotionally invested in a lot of these books, which is just great. So this is a little bit of a longer update, but that's where I'm at right now. Hello, I am here with updates, but also to wrap up this vlog, because just recently, like minutes ago, I finished Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune and cried like a baby. I listened to most of today's section on the way home because I knew it was going to be sad and I knew that I was going to cry. And then I came home and I finished like the last couple of chapters, which is probably what you guys saw. So I very much enjoyed this book. I think it's going to get a 4.5 for me. There's a couple of things. I mean, it was really good, but there's something about it that's not letting me give it a full 5, and I'm not sure what that is. But I really, really enjoyed this book. It had a lot of things. I think my opinions are pretty similar to when I came to you first at the beginning of the week, or last time I talked to you when I was talking about starting this or having had started it. I think that this is a beautiful story, and what I found interesting about this is that it's very character based, which makes sense when you think about it. It's about a guy in like a way station in limbo between life and death on his way to whatever comes next. So it's going to be very character focused. There's a lot of conversations in this book, specifically between him and Hugo, who is the guy that like owns the tea shop and is the one that's kind of like walking him through stuff. So like there's a lot of really in-depth, deep conversations between the two of them about the universe and like what it means and like what's next and life and death and living a full life and all of those really fun conversations that people have when death is a conversation that is being talked about. So you have a lot of really deeper topics, but it's handled in a very beautiful way, and it's, like I said, character focused, so it shouldn't have worked for me, yet I loved everything about it. I got incredibly invested in Wallace as a person, like really early on, like within like chapters of starting this book. And this book is about him and the character development that he kind of goes through in these weeks that he's in this tea shop. And so he's not a great person at the beginning of this book, but I got so incredibly invested in him as a person, like right away. And I think doing that made the whole character development versus plot better. So it was just generally a beautiful conversation, a story, and a book that in theory I would never have approached something like this, but because it's by TJ Klune, I knew it was going to be handled well, and I trusted him as an author. So that's why I gave something like this that deals with so much death a chance, and I'm really glad that I did, because again, TJ Klune. I don't know if I could have done this with another author. I think he just has a very beautiful way of handling it, so it makes this conversation easier. And there's definitely some stuff at the end that I just really hit me in the heart, you know? So overall, fantastic. Really enjoyed this. This was for the prompt, because I've already forgotten it. Conjuration, which was indeed required for my career. So I'm 3 books out of 8 down at this point as far as things that are required for my career. But I loved it. I loved buddy reading this. I'm glad I finally read it. I have a lot of opinions. I have a lot of emotions. I'm still emotionally raw from this book, I think, because I just basically, like, the last section and the last, like, 50 pages, I just cried the whole time. And I think that, yes, it's the subject matter, but, like, something that gets me in books, which I think I can tell you about here because it's not a spoiler, is goodbyes. Goodbyes and stories get me every single time. It doesn't matter if it's like it doesn't have to be goodbye like at the end of someone's life. Like two friends who were best friends in high school that are going off to college and saying goodbye before they go off to college. That gets me. Anytime there's like a prolonged goodbye like that, I sob like a child. So, obviously when this book is about death, we're going to have some goodbyes in it, and those got me every single time. So that's just like, that's a plot thing that I don't care what it's about or what the story is about, it's going to make me cry every single time. So I knew that. I just knew it was coming. And yeah, that one got me. But I really, really enjoyed my time reading it. I finally have read Under the Whispering Door. We could all be happy that I've finally done it. And I'm just really happy about it because it's rekindled my love for TJ Klune, which is good because he has a new book coming out this year that plot-wise sounds like the weirdest thing I'm ever gonna read, but I will read it for him because it's him. So I've done one book that was required, and then as far as like looking back on this week, I also finished Ballad of Never After, which was also required for my career. So 2 books done this week, which got I think 4.5 both. As far as for this Readathon, I also have made a decent amount of progress in the Belle of Belgrave Square. I'm on somewhere in chapter 19. So I'm almost 200 pages through the book, so we're looking about halfway. And this one is required for my career as well. So I suspect this will be the first thing that I finish at the beginning of next week, because I have lots of weekend plans for next week. So I will let you know at the beginning of that vlog how that's going to go. But this is the one that I'm kind of taking into next week, and I've really been enjoying it. I love this couple. My opinions really haven't changed much because as far as the plot goes, not a whole lot has happened yet. So as far as like what is not already kind of laid out for me is what I expect to happen. So this will be most likely finished in next week's vlog. But so far so good. We're making our way through. We have a couple more weeks left of the month. We're about halfway through. So as far as the readathon goes, what's required is not doing as well as I wanted to, but I've also been reading some other stuff for like my personal TBR behind the scenes. So overall reading, doing pretty decently. I'm actually quite proud with my work and the books that I have read for this career. I think given every single thing a 4-star at least. So that's good. But that's what this week looked like. Just a couple more things done. I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. As always, if you're participating, let me know how your reading is going or just how your April reading is going. I really want to know all of your thoughts. So let me know all your thoughts down below. But if you like this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there as well as other fun bookish links, so check all that out. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!